Charizard, arguably the most popular and sought after Pokemon of all time. Upon Pokemon's original debut, this powerful dragon-like creature captured the hearts of millions of kids. In the anime, he was seen as Ash's most powerful Pokemon. In fact, he was such an imposing beast that he regularly disobeyed his trainer. There was no denying the impact Charizard had and still has to this day. His immense popularity almost instantly shot him to the top as the most iconic Pokemon card there ever was and ever would be. The original base set Charizard had the most powerful attack, Fire Spin, at 100 damage and the highest health at 120. But in the trading card game, what really set Charizard apart from the herd was that epic artwork. Standing at 5'7", 200 pounds, mid-attack, in a truly powerful stance, almost every kid had to have that card. Even back in 1999, the price of a first edition Charizard card could have gone for hundreds of dollars. Now, 21 years later, people are just as mesmerized as they were in 1999. A Perfect 10 first edition base Charizard card can go for as much as $40,000 to $50,000. Even in recent years, Charizard has been hugely responsible for record-breaking sales. He's still a massive part of Pokemon to this day. With the release of Hidden Fates in 2019, this echoed the past. The desire to pull the shiny Charizard GX caused a massive craze, much similar to the 1999 release of base set. The shiny Charizard card could sell for thousands of dollars in perfect black label condition. The incredible popularity of the set, coupled by the desire to pull a Charizard, caused a massive shortage of product, the likes of which we haven't seen since the original 1999 release of base. This is not just a short-lived fad. It's a lifelong phenomenon that has stuck with original fans for a lifetime. I want to share with you my piece of that history, my Charizard collection. I started collecting Pokemon cards in 1999, and due to peer pressure and social acceptance, a lot of people only collected for a few years and then moved on to other things. Now, I never had the chance to pull that base set Charizard. It just never happened for me. So 15 years later, in 2015, I finally decided to buy a base unlimited booster box, and I cracked it open and I finally pulled my Charizard. Now, I was about 25 years old when that happened, and that's the start of my Charizard collection. So right off the bat here, I'm gonna start with that card. I graded this with PSA and it came back a PSA 9. This card means a lot to me because that was the moment that I finally pulled my Charizard. And this is the original 1999 Charizard, the card that every kid wanted. And most of my friends had him. I just never had it. I never pulled it. I never owned it. I could just never get my hands on it. The best holo I ever pulled back then probably was a Venusaur. So make sure you guys stay till the end of the video because as this video keeps moving forward, the prices are going to keep increasing. The last item is going to be the most expensive item and probably one of the top Charizard items that anybody could ever own, possibly the #1 item. So make sure you watch the whole video through. So guys, this PSA 9 Charizard, that was the start of it. So let's keep moving on here and I'm going to move on to the next item. So next up, we have a Topps Chrome booster box. This one has the Charizard on the front here. So this card actually is going to increase the value a lot on this. I would probably say this is worth around 3,500 bucks. You can get them for less, but with the Charizard on here, that's going to cause a higher premium for this box. This came out in the year 2000 and it wasn't super popular back then. Most people wanted the Wizards of the Coast era booster boxes and, you know, cards from that set like Base, Jungle, and Fossil. They didn't really want stuff from Topps. Topps was the company that did this box here. But in recent years, these have actually gotten a lot more popular. You have the Pikachu on the side there. Because they didn't sell too well, they really just they didn't make too many of these in my opinion, and that's why you can't really find them too much these days. But these are really cool. There's 30 packs in here, and you can actually pull the top cards out of this as Technos, and you can only pull around 2 of those out of a box. So they're really hard to pull, and the cards that are Technos are worth a lot more money because they're really, really hard to pull. But that is going to be the next item on the Charizard collection list. So moving on, we're going to go to base unlimited blisters, and I have 5 of these right here. These came out in 1999. They hung these up on store shelves, and I actually have a blister display that I'm going to show you guys eventually. But this is really cool. Since they did multiple print runs of base, you actually have different colors here. This one's like a darker blue, and this is a lighter one. You can even see the Charizard on there. It definitely has a different color to it. So that is 5 of these. These are worth around $200 each. And also, I did not mention that Charizard in the back there, the PSA 9, that's worth around 300 bucks. So these are really, really awesome to have. I love when they're in the blisters like this. I feel like it's just so cool to have them in the cardboard like that. So these are the next item on the list. And then moving forward here, we're gonna go with the BGS 9.5 Japanese Charizards that I actually pulled these and I graded them. I sent them to Beckett. So these all came back 9.5s. That was a really cool experience getting these back. I actually have a video, I'll link it down below, and that was when I had my Beckett return and I pulled these out of there. Now this is the strongest 9.5. It's a 0.5 away from having that pristine 10 grading on there, and it's really strong one, so I might actually send this one back in to get graded. I would say these are probably worth around $450 each. A PSA 10 goes for around 500 bucks, so these are pretty much on point with PSA 10s, but they're not going to get as high of a premium as the PSA 10 would. So these are really cool. The set was released in 1996, so about 3 years before it came out in America. So, you know, these were around for a lot longer. And yeah, these are they're really cool. The quality is really great on them. And that's really the original Pokemon cards, Japanese base. So we're gonna put those back there and we're gonna keep moving forward here. So next up, we're gonna do Expedition booster packs. And these all have Charizard on them. So I have around 12 of these. These are worth around $200 each. So really cool. Expedition was an awesome set. There's so many Charizards that you can pull out of Expedition. I think there's at least 6 different versions of Charizard that you can pull out of here. So if you like Charizard, there's so many opportunities to pull it out of the Expedition base set. And this is the base of E-Series. So really cool stuff here, guys. I really like the artwork on these and just like the colors overall. It really pops when you have Charizard out there with the orange and then like the gold behind it. This is the E-Series here. So really awesome. And yeah, these are, you know, 12 times 200, so do the math. I'll put those in the back there, and let's keep moving on, guys. So I believe this is 10 of the base unlimited booster packs from 1999. These are the packs that you can pull that base unlimited Charizard out of. So really awesome. I would say these are probably worth around $125 each, but you have the iconic Charizard on there. That's the same artwork from the original Game Boy games, the red version. 11 additional game cards in here. These are just the base unlimited version, so not super special like Shadowless or anything like that. But just so cool to be able to hold these. Even though they're just unlimited, they're still awesome. And these are, you know, what I collected as a kid, and most kids, they had the base unlimited packs. I mean, that was what was out there in 1999, and it's really cool to have them all these years later. So that is the next item in my Charizard collection. So let's put those back there and let's move on now. We're gonna have a pristine 10 Japanese base Charizard, and this was another one from my Beckett return. This one I was so happy to get. This is the pristine 10, so close to being a black label, 0.5 away. And I estimated in that video that these were worth, I think I said $1,500 to $2,000, and I was pretty close because one actually just sold recently on eBay for $1,500. So I would say this is worth around 1,500 bucks. Really awesome. And you're going to get a much higher premium on something like this versus a PSA 10, just because the grading scale that's just how it lands on there. It's really would be better than a PSA 10 in my opinion, quality wise. So that is an awesome card there. And you know, it would have been awesome if I had that pristine or the black label 10. I don't think there are any black labels for this Charizard card in Japanese base. So close, but really happy to have this in a 10 pristine. So I'm gonna put that in the back here, and let's move on. Next up, we're gonna do Platinum Supreme Victor's Blisters. I think I have something like maybe 8 of these here. These are awesome. I love Charizard on the front here. It's just, he's so big on the front. He takes up so much of the pack. And these are in the blister. You actually have another Charizard on the top there. So really awesome. 10 additional game cards in here. And you can pull it was level X Charizard, a level X Rayquaza, and I actually opened up some of these on the channel. I'll also link that video below, and I pulled a really cool card out of one of them, so really awesome. And this came out later. I don't remember the exact date. I think it was 2009 actually. And I wasn't really involved with Pokemon at the time, so it's really cool to go back and actually kind of go through the years that I wasn't around, I didn't collect it for. I really want to get into the black and white era, Heart Gold, Soul Silver, and Diamond and Pearl and stuff like that, because I missed out on it and I haven't really gave it a ton of attention over the last 5 years that I've been collecting. I mainly focused on the Wizards of the Coast era and the EX era for the most part, so I'm excited to get into that kind of stuff. I definitely missed out on that, so it'll be cool now as an adult to get into that and learn more about those generations of Pokemon that I missed out on. I definitely want to play some of the games from those eras. So now we're going to be moving on to some really higher end, more expensive stuff pretty soon. So next up, we're going to do, this is a guaranteed Shadowless Booster Pack. I would say this is probably worth around $400. Like I said, with the Charizard on the front there, you're going to have a higher premium. Now you can see here that the Shadowless is going to look a little different than the base Unlimited. Now with this Shadowless, you have trading card game down here. On base Unlimited, it's up here. And then another thing that's different is on the base Unlimited, you have 11 additional game cards. On the Shadowless, there's 11 tradable game cards. Now the Shadowless, for those who don't know, was printed after first edition base, but before Unlimited. So these were kind of like the middle point between that. And these are highly sought after cards and packs. So like I said, the value of this around 400, and then this around 125. So you can see the value difference right there. And you can actually pull a Charizard, a Shadowless Charizard out of this, which is worth a lot more than the regular Unlimited Charizard. I think a Shadowless Charizard in PSA 10 is probably worth around $15,000 if I had to guess. And then in the Unlimited, probably around 1,500 bucks. So 15,000, 1,500. So there's that. And then also, if you look on here closer, you can see the crimps here. Those are called long crimps. And these are the short crimps. Now, with this pack, you can guarantee that there's Shadowless cards inside because the crimps are long on here. And that's just how it was back then. The types of packs that they were using and how they were crimping them closed. Anything that's in a pack like this is going to have the Shadowless cards in it. Now, there's other packs that you might think are Shadowless, but they have these short crimp versions on the bottom here instead of the long crimp, and that is a maybe on Shadowless. You'd have to open it to see if there's Shadowless in there, but it's not guaranteed like these. That's why these hold a pretty high premium, because you know you're going to get Shadowless cards in here. So that right there, I just have one of these. So let's move on to the next item here. Next up, we have a short crimp Shadowless, and this is a blister pack. So like I mentioned before, this long crimp here, this one's definitely Shadowless. This one is a maybe on Shadowless. You won't know unless you open it. So that is something that's really cool to have in the blister form there. And I'll show you it next to the base Unlimited. So you can see there, the colors are a little bit different just because it was a different print run. And that is the difference there, guys. So this one, I'm gonna say, is probably worth around 350 bucks. So I will throw that back there. Moving on, next up, we're gonna have, this is a guaranteed Shadowless blister pack. So this is really awesome. It's got the guaranteed Shadowless and it's in the blister form. So this is gonna hold the highest premium. I would say this is probably worth around $600, but now this one is extremely special and you probably won't see this anywhere else, but this came from a case where it was confirmed that the uncommon cards in here have first edition stamps on them. So it's extremely, extremely rare to find something like that. And I can guarantee it on here because it came from a case that actually had those. So really awesome. I don't think anybody can really guarantee something like that unless they came from a case, which this one did. So a price on this, normally 600 bucks, like I said, but knowing that those uncommon cards in there had that first edition stamp, I'm not totally sure what the value would be, but I would definitely value it more than $600. So really cool to have that in my collection. I'm gonna throw that to the side there. And now we're gonna move on to some really, really high-end stuff here. This is like some of my top tier Charizard items. So without further ado, let's start jumping into it here. So right off the bat here, this is a first edition base Charizard. This is the most expensive version of a Charizard that you can get. It was the first printing of it. You can tell by the first edition stamp right there, and there are two different stamp variants. This is actually the thick stamp variant. So some collectors like to collect both variants, but to most it doesn't really make much of a difference. But this is a BGS 9.5. I would say this card is probably going to be worth around $18,000 to $20,000. So it is pretty comparable to a PSA 10 quality wise. Up here you can see the centering is a 9, the edges are a 9.5, the surface is a 9.5. I'm sorry, the corners are 9.5 and the surface is a 10. So this could possibly cross to a PSA 10. So that, you know, the difference in value there is pretty extreme. And this card means a lot to me. I actually pulled this myself, and I'm actually going to do a video on that eventually, so stay tuned for that. But I pulled this myself. I sent it to Beckett, and I got it graded, and it was like the coolest experience ever. This is the holy grail of Pokemon, in my opinion. It's so cool because you can compare it here. If we pull out this Japanese Charizard that came out in 1996, and then put it up here against this base unlimited that most people had, and you can see the differences here. For one, there's no shadow here, and on this one you can see the shadow. That's why Shadowless is called Shadowless, because there's no shadowing right here on the sides. You can also see that the colors are different here. This one is more like reddish, and this one looks a little lighter. So a lot of people like that hollow color on there compared to this one. It just kind of pops more. The Charizard it just looks more contrasted, and overall the eye appeal on a first edition Charizard from base, or even the Shadowless Charizard without the first edition stamp, a lot of people like the eye appeal, and I have to agree. I like the coloring. I like how everything just looks on the Shadowless. It was a design later on that they did, and they added in the shadows and everything and kind of dialed back on the contrast and stuff. And it kind of looks more washed out if you look at it next to Base Unlimited. But yeah, this is the Charizard first edition base that I pulled and graded. And yeah, this one, $18,000 to $20,000. So we're going to keep moving up here, guys. So next up, we're going to do, these are the first edition base set blister packs. I have 3 of them here. I would say they're worth around $2,200 each, and this has everything that you could ask for. It has the first edition stamp on the bottom there. That means that you could potentially pull that Charizard, the first edition base Charizard, out of this blister pack. It has the long crimps, it's shadowless, it has everything. And that's why they're around $2,200, because you actually have a chance to pull that card out of here. First edition base booster boxes, they probably go for around $50,000 to $75,000, depending on the market, depending on where it's sold and the time it's sold and everything. And this is one of those packs from in there. And on top of that, it's in the blister form, which it's just more collectible in my opinion. It just adds more to it. It's just really, really cool. You can hang it up, you can display it. It's just, it stays nice and mint in here. It's really awesome. And these, stores hung them up. They had them on display. There was, at one point, this was hanging up. Well, not this one in particular, because this was from a case. But at one point, these types of blisters were just hanging up in the stores. And most people never got first edition base because it was just, they didn't print very many of them at all. They didn't know how well Pokemon was going to do. At the time, I think Magic the Gathering was like all the craze, and Wizards of the Coast really could care less about Pokemon at the time, to be honest. They didn't really know what they had, so they played it safe and they didn't print very many of these at all. That's why they're so hard to find. A first edition base box is just ridiculously hard to find on the market. I would say that probably only around 2, maybe 3 come up a year, maybe 4. So yeah, it's extremely hard to find. But yeah, these are the next best thing to a first edition base box in my opinion. So 3 of those. I'm gonna put those to the side and we're gonna keep it moving, guys. So next up here we have, these are gonna be pretty cool. These are all first edition base booster packs and they all have Charizard on them. I think there are 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7 of them here, guys. And that is essentially this, but without the blister cardboard and everything. And these actually came from a first edition booster box base set. And yeah, I would say these are probably worth around $1,500 each. They're going to be worth a little bit less than these blisters, just because these are harder to come by and they just look cooler. I mean, having all the cardboard on there and everything compared to this, these are awesome. So yeah, $1,500 each. These came from the first edition base booster boxes, like I mentioned earlier, and you could possibly pull the Charizard out of here, the one in the back there that you see, Venusaur, Blastoise, and it's just, they're so hard to find, and I'm really glad that I had held on to a bunch of these, especially the Charizard ones, because you know, it's Charizard. This is a part of my Charizard collection, the card that I never had as a kid that I finally have now as an adult. So guys, I'm gonna show you the #1 Charizard item in my collection right now. It is the top item. It is probably the #1 Charizard collectible that anybody could ask for, that anybody could own, and I'm happy to say that I own it. It's gonna be a PSA 10 first edition base set Shadowless Charizard. This has everything. This is it. This is the card that everybody wanted, but with the rarer version, the hardest version to find, the first print of Charizard, first edition stamp right there. You can see it has the thin stamp, and I can actually show you the difference here if you guys want to see real quick. This has the thin and this one is the thick. As you can see, the one looks thinner here. If you compare it to the thick one, the one looks thicker. That's the difference there, the thin versus thick. But guys, you want to know the value on this one? It's going to be worth roughly $40,000 to $50,000. That's right, guys, $40,000 to $50,000. Now, I have some really cool stories about these first edition base Charizards that I'm gonna go and I'm gonna tell you guys about in other videos, but just know that I have pulled this card and I have graded them before in a PSA 10. This is not that card that I graded myself. I did purchase this one. It was about a year ago. So yeah, this is it, guys. This is like, if you want to collect Charizard and you want the top item, you want the PSA 10 first edition Shadowless base set Charizard, and it's taken me so many years to finally get it and to get the highest quality, most mint one that you can get. And I'll show you guys closer here. This one was graded quite a while ago. It doesn't have the PSA logo there. It has a really low serial number on there. You can see it's gem mint, so the highest condition that you can get from PSA. You can see that sparkle there in the hollow, so cool. Got the Charmeleon there on stage 2, the first edition stamp. You can see the attack fire spin, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, and the HP. So it was the strongest Pokemon at the time, the one that everybody wanted. So guys, if you like this video, please leave a like. This one took a long time to make, and I really hope you guys like this one. This is my passion. This is Charizard. This is the card that everybody wanted. So I'm proud to say this is my Charizard collection. So guys, hope you enjoyed it. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you on the next one.